Hi,
Hello,
John.
can you hear me? Hello,
Yeah.
John.
Where are you calling from, John?
Uh,
I'm in France.
From where?
I live in France.
okay, John, by the way, it's not hippos, it's a hoopoe. It's a kind of bird. It's not hippos.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
a hippo. It's a flying hippo. Don't let him tell you any different.
Okay.
It's a hoopoe, not hippos.
No, he misunderstood. That's fine. So what's in your mind, John?
Oh, so I just came here to ask you, how do you justify that the Quran cannot be human-made?
Very good question. Do you believe in supernaturals?
Not really, no. I would say no.
Then that could be essentially a problem we need to fix first, or sort, or clarify. Because if you only believe in naturalism, then nothing can exist outside your methodology. There cannot be any gods or angels, jinns, satans. You don't have room for any of those things, right? Yeah.
Yes,
So,
but if you
sorry
have
to interrupt. I just wanted
if you
to
have
show you the
knowledge,
picture of a hippo. That's what it looks like, just in case people are wondering whether we are just talking about hippos or birds.
okay, Oppo.
Yeah.
Oppo.
Okay. Carry on. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm saying that if you have something objective about to prove that the Quran cannot be human-made, I'm here for it. So a knowledge, a proof, something objective, something logical, that cannot be refuted, logical and rational.
Absolutely fine. Very good question, and it's relevant. But my question to you is, before we approach on this one, if you are, someone who believes in naturalism, there is no place for supernatural events or supernatural cause for our universe, then this needs to be addressed first, because the Quran claims to be from the creator of this universe, and you don't believe such a creator exists. So even if we were to give you, evidence after evidence, logic, reason, rationale, it would not be acceptable to you, because you just simply don't have any room for a supernatural cause of this universe. So we need to address the other, the elephant in the room. So why do you consider yourself a naturalist, or someone who believes on, this is the natural world and that it doesn't have anything beyond that? How did you come to that conclusion?
Before answering this one, I just wanted to say something about what you just said. So you think that we should firstly talk about the existence of a creator, of something higher first. But I don't understand this, because as a Muslim, you are supposed to have a scripture. The God you believe in is not just a God who's just there. You're not a deist. If it was with a deist, I would understand. But with a Christian, with a Muslim, all of the deists, you are supposed to have something that's supposed to be a proof, something objective.
We do have
I don't
objective
understand
proof.
why.
We do. But the thing is,
so it
for
should be
you
enough.
for you to appreciate objective proof and acceptable to you, we need to change the mindset, the frame of your working, right? If your paradigm doesn't get shifted, then you will never accept the Quran from the divine who's outside this world, because you don't believe anything exists outside this world. So it doesn't matter, as I said, if I give you hundreds and thousands of evidence or proof or logical arguments for the Quran's, origin from outside our universe, it's not going to make any sense to you, because to you there is nothing beyond our universe. So that's why we need to get this paradigm clarified first. Can there be only this universe, or actually is there more than the universe? It's very important. This is a very distinction that you need to clarify, because what is there for me to, suppose I give you something that you cannot explain, right? A proof from the Quran. You will still not say it's from God, because to you there is no room for a God, because there is no such thing as a God. Does that make sense so far?
I don't really agree. If you can you
Okay.
prove that it comes from God. Yes, but if you don't agree with that, we can move on. We can move on. What you want us to talk about?
May I, Brother Mansour, let me
Yeah, go ahead.
let me frame it in a particular way. Is it unreasonable for us to believe in the existence of God?
I would say yeah.
Okay, why is it unreasonable for us to believe in the existence of God?
Yeah, because there is no knowledge to support it.
What makes you say that? Because we have the contrary. So what Brother Mansour is saying, that we have knowledge that was revealed to us through a messenger that God does exist.
Yes, I'm asking to show me those this objectivity, this knowledge, this
Okay,
proof.
so objectively, there was a man that walked the earth 1400 years ago that claimed that he was receiving revelation from God. And this man came down with a product that was from God. So over the course of 23 years, this revelation was being part and parcel revealed to us, to all of mankind through this man, and now we have the final product, still preserved perfectly. And this message claims that there is a God. So what's the issue?
Mm-hmm. So
what do you have from the contrary? So we have
this is the belief that you just exposed, but it's not a proof that it comes from God.
Okay, so now you have to test the product, right? So did you have
I'm asking that.
Huh?
Yeah, this is what I'm asking. I'm asking what comes from the Quran that cannot be human made. What's
Quran
from
itself.
the Quran?
The Quran itself, man.
That's really a response.
How is
so
it?
Why? If you say the Quran itself, then tell me why the Quran itself cannot be human
Let me
made.
go back to John. John, the reason why we say Quran itself is the evidence that it's from God, because the Quran says if it wasn't from God, then you would be able to imitate something like it. Okay, because anything that is from our natural world, this world, if it's a thing like in the genre of a literature, we should be able to imitate it. We should be able to make something like it. That's any composition in a language, in literature, right? Whether it's a prose or poetry or any kind of forms of literature, human beings can imitate it, okay? Because it's within the scope of human beings to use the language. So if the Quran was from other than God, meaning from within the natural world, from another human being or a group of human beings, whether they're Arabs or non-Arabs, joined together, whatever, you and I should be able to imitate something like it. The Quran says this is such a book that you cannot, even if you were to join together, in fact, not you, whole of mankind and whole of the jinns, if they were to come together to produce something like it, the Quran says, "La ya'tuna bimithli," you would not be able to make something like it. So the Quran is giving you a falsification test here. If you think it's not from God, then produce a chapter, a surah, or a book like it, or 10 chapters like it, or just one chapter or a surah like it. So this is a Quranic approach in dealing with the matter, just the way we as scientists do. We have hypotheses, we have our model that we give, and we say, look, this is how you can disprove it. This is how you can falsify the theory. So you should take that approach and say, okay, now this is what the Quran says. Of course, there is no God, so I should be able to imitate it. Okay, maybe John, you don't speak Arabic and you don't know Arabic. Okay, that's no problem. Quran actually caters for that and says, if you want to help, get help from others and your supporters and so on to do this job for you, you're more than welcome to do so. Go and seek your helpers and supporters besides God to do it. And there you go then. So you should be able to go and find someone who can imitate the Quran. The fact that we have been talking about this for the last 1400 years or more, that this is the challenge of the Quran and people are failing, what does it tell you? It tells you this is Quran is not falsifiable. That means the claim it has that it's from God, it stands. So you have to deal with it now. You have to say now, okay, because it's not falsifiable and the Quran says from God, how do I now interact with it? What would be my rational interaction with it? If I don't believe it's from God, I should be able to falsify it. The fact that I cannot falsify it, then how do I interact with it? This is the approach you should take.
Okay, about this argument, the inimitability. So I've heard it many times. So it's good that I heard it again. So I have a few comments about this and one question. So first of all, is that it's not really even some people present it as a challenge, but it's not really a challenge in the Muslim perspective, since Allah already declared that it cannot be reproduced by human beings, by genes, etc.
That's
So
just
I'm
the
asking
outcome.
So
Anyone can present something, a model, and it can also show this is the outcome. You can challenge the outcome. Do you see the point? The Quran gives you a falsification test. It tells you the outcome of the test. This is how you're going to all fail. So you can actually have two challenges now. One, to produce something like it, and then falsify the outcome. Do you understand? You have now in a better position to say, look, I can now falsify this book and also falsify the outcome the Quran gives. So two tests in one. Two in one. Carry on.
Okay, I heard that. So before the question, there was when I heard this argument the first time, I looked up, I searched it up about if there is a objective criteria in literature to declare that a text cannot be imitated and cannot be imitated, and I never found one. There is no such thing in literature. So I don't understand.
Because you haven't been looking enough thoroughly and deeply. That's the very inadequacy or insufficiency of research. So the Quran and the people who worked on this Quran has given, for years and in the centuries what the objective nature of the challenge is. Even in recent times, we have an academic who has laid down clearly, showing you where exactly within the stylistics of the Quran offers the challenge. So the scholar is Dr. Bassam Sa'i. He's written a book. One is the methodology explanation of it, and then one is a practical application in the second volume, where he demonstrates how the method can be used as he's explained, and people need to imitate that structure. So he's shown the structure of the Quran, the stylistics, how the Quran is composed of in terms of its linguistic genre. And to imitate something, this is how one needs to come up with this linguistic stylistics. Objective, nothing subjective at all, because it's not talking about the meaning, it's not talking about eloquence, it's talking about the composition of it. But the fact remains, the Quran has profound meaning. The fact remains, Quran is the most eloquent book in Arabic language, but it's very difficult to demonstrate that objectively, because eloquence and meanings and the level of meaning, it's subjective to people. That's why the objective nature is on the very linguistic structure of the Quran. So it is there already available. A abridged version of his book is available in English, and the main book, of course, is in Arabic language in 2 volumes.
What is the name of the book, Mansur?
Al-Mu'jiza. It's The Miracle, Al-Mu'jiza by Dr. Bassam Sa'i. So if you give me 1 second, I'll just bring it while someone wants to just talk about it briefly.
By the way, John, do you know that? Do you know from all the religions in the world who claim that they have a book from God? Do you know which is the only book which can be brought back if all its copies are destroyed, whether physical or digital? The only book that can be brought back intact for letter to letter and word for word is the Quran.
That's the book, by the way, Hashim.
This is the book. Al-Mu'jiza. Is it upside down? Okay, let me just quickly revert.
Is that the English version or the Arabic version?
1 second.
No, that's the Arabic version.
Okay.
Hashim.
So this book, Al-Mu'jiza. So this is volume 2. This is volume 1. Yes, it's 2 volumes. One is methodology, one is the application. And for you, John, it's available in the internet. It's this book. Do you wanna use? Hang on.
Just bring it.
You can just say the name. You can just say the name.
Okay, so hang on, just 1 second. Sorry. See if I go there, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
And okay, so this is the book, Bassam Sa'i. The Miraculous Language of the Quran, Evidence of Divine Origin. Can you see that book?
Yeah, I took a screenshot.
Yeah.
He did take a picture, that's it.
Okay, IIIT, they published it. Okay, so go ahead. Yeah. So here, the objective nature of the challenge of the Quran is laid out clearly with examples after examples after examples from the Quran itself, with comparison from ordinary human speech, and showing you where the differences are, and clearly why the human speech is very different in its linguistic stylistics to the divine speech as we find in the Quran, and why even today people, the Arabs, would not employ these kind of stylistics to speak in the particular stylistics the Quranic structure is composed of. So this is where the Quran challenges people. And why so? Because this was evidently one of the most important feature of the divine revelation given in the last revelation to humankind through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that the Quran is going to be continuously with people in their hands. They are witnessing the living miracle. It's a living miracle. It's not something like parting the Red Sea, where people who were there at that time, it was evidence for them. For you would be skeptic and say, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. How am I supposed to going to believe in any of these things? Or raising someone from the dead and so on. These were circumstantial at that time only. Those who witnessed it, they couldn't explain it any other way, medically or otherwise. For them, it was an evident miracle. Quran, on the other hand, is something, it's on your hands, that you are able to read it today, and you keep on reading it. Everyone has access to. It's a living, continuous, eternal miracle. And that's why the evidence that the Quran provides of its divine origin, this is only one of the falsification tests, is something that is reachable for everyone, so that people have no excuse in saying, I didn't know, or I can't do it, something like this. The Quran gives you, as I said, it even caters for the need of people who are not even Arabs. It tells you, go and help, get help from others if you can't do it yourself. John?
Yeah,
Does that make
I
sense?
heard what you said. In response to this, to the work of the academic you just present, the thing is that even if his work is outside of a Muslim perspective, even if he's not a Muslim, the thing is that it has to be accepted within the literature community. It just doesn't have to be his own work. If he gave a criteria for the inimitability of something, it should be accepted by his peers, by all the other, or at least most of the other people expert in that
Correct.
area.
The people of knowledge of the language should accept it. And that's why you have thousands and millions of Muslims, academics throughout the Islamic history or human history for the last 1400 years. They have accepted that this is a book that you cannot imitate it. Now, when it comes to people who are non-Muslims, you need to go and ask them, why aren't they open about it? Because this is the challenge of the Quran. And if they say they can make something like it, let them do it. If they can't, let them also explain why you cannot. Simple. We can't force academics to say something, because when we do speak with Orientalists and so on, they don't want to become personal in this, because it's a belief system. They just want to ignore it. But if we really confront someone, if you do want to, more than welcome, go to an academic who's not a Muslim and ask them. Here is an academic contemporary, a Muslim, who has given you objective way of imitating the Quran, laying down exactly how the Quran is, and asking you to imitate the Quranic stylistic likewise. Go and find out what they say. Not just simply internet Tom, Dick and Harry's. They just produce, the COVID, surah this, surah that, right? Not knowing what the challenge is. We don't deal with these people. I mean, we want to give credibility to people who can seriously take that challenge. So if you are able to, go and find one, and then we will deal with that. I mean, we are not going to make the decision and the judgment of whether it has been imitated or not. It will be obvious to those who are involved within this task, because in our history we know many people tried to attempt, And even before they were trying to attempt, they said, okay, it's not possible. Okay, they just left that. They then left that endeavor because it's not possible. So that's why one of the things I really want you to, John, to ponder on this. Thousands of Muslims throughout the Islamic centuries, right? They're not all emotional believers or lay people like, us, for example. I mean, I'm talking about myself. But there are really someone who have studied so much the Arabic language in depth, the language of rhetoric, the eloquence, the balagha. They excelled. They composed themselves poetries and prose and so on. Okay, so these academics, do we say all of them 100% for the last 1400 years, those academics who excel in the language, they're all hypocrites because they knew they could match the Quran and they didn't, and they remained a Muslim? It makes no sense. You should have some people who are academics and say, look, the Quran is, of course, imitable. You can make something like it. But the fact that we don't see anyone in history, and they're all praising and showing where the eloquence is and the beauty is, as well as the nature of inimitability is, tells you something. That it's nothing to do with academic dishonesty or loss of integrity. People are remaining to be people of integrity, and they're believing in this book being inimitable. So what does that tell you? That this book is something that, Arab speaking individuals, whether they're native or learnt, they have already accepted this book is inimitable. So if it's inimitable, not something that you can imitate, then the source of this book is where or what? It cannot be a human being or a group of human beings, Arabs or non-Arabs. It just simply takes away from this cause or the source of this book. What could it be then? You really have to then ask yourself seriously. If it's not human beings, then where can it be? Aliens, perhaps? Is that how you're going to do? You're going to bring aliens in from another planet. You really have to have a rational justification of not accepting this book from God, because that is going to be evidence for God, as you said. I didn't want to go to that route, but clearly, if this is the case, then this is an evidence is from God, because no one can match it, no one can imitate it. So you have to ask yourself, John, I mean, having investigated now or having heard what you need to do, if you can't find any imitation of the Quran, ask yourself, why is it impossible? Because any human product can be imitated. Why not the Quran? What's stopping it?
I understand, and I understand what you're saying, but the point is that, for example, if I'm not talking about literature, I'm talking about history. Christians, for example, like to bring up the fact that the crucifixion is accepted by most historians, and I have nothing to say about that. This is a consensus within historians, within experts. I have nothing to say about it.
It's a rumor that was accepted. Yeah.
So with this topic now in Islam, with the fact that it's a fact that this book cannot be imitated, it's a fact in literature. I have to, since I'm not an expert, I have to rely on the fact that there is a consensus within the academics that it cannot be imitated, and it's not the case now.
What do you mean it's not the case? Which academics?
Like you said, you presented
John,
that.
John, may I? Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. It's now the ball is in your courts, right? You have to really go and find out non-Muslim academics who are proficient in the Arabic language who say it can be imitated. Because the moment they say it can be imitated, you know what you have to ask them. Go on, imitate a surah. Okay. If you find that there's no one who's able to imitate it, then you challenge them. You say it's imitated, but you can't do it yourself. So it's a statement of what? Emotional belief of those academics, not an objective assessment of the facts. So good that you've raised this now. Now you really have to go and investigate. You can't remain silent and agnostic about it and say I don't know anything about it. It's the responsibility is now greater on your shoulder to go and ask around which academics say it is imitable, that you can make something like it, and then ask them to produce an imitation. Okay, so if you can find one, DawahWise, we're doing string every Thursday. You know what times? You can bring them the results of what you found, or your discussion and so on, or the actual product, because we would like to at least have a glimpse of that product, okay, the imitated surah of the Quran that people have imitated, and then we can talk, because there's no point just leaving it there. You need to now go on proactively seek and search for someone who says that they can imitate it, or it can be imitated, and get them to do it. If you can't find anyone who's able to imitate it, what would that tell you, John?
It doesn't tell me that it cannot be imitated.
I'm asking you, if you cannot find anyone to do this job, what does it tell you? There's something profound about this book. It claims
Not necessarily.
It's divine. It's divine. It should be divine.
No,
Yeah, that's the claim of this book.
Many the academic didn't work on it. They didn't do
And lots of
work,
academics
they didn't
today,
try.
even in France, right? Lots of academics studying the Quran. Okay, so there is
So I'm saying that I already did that. I checked, I verified if there is not just a consensus on the fact it's imitable or non-imitable, but there is no criteria in literature for a text to be inimitable. This is the most important part.
So you didn't
because
understand
this is
challenge
the
of the Quran,
affirmation,
then,
this is the claim you made.
As I explained earlier, the book that I've shown you, take this book to the academics, right, and ask them, here are the objective way the Quran can be imitated. Is there anyone on the planet who can imitate it? Say, we are saying you're more than welcome to. And then if they are able to, bring it back here. Okay, that's the only thing we can say so far, because because it's something new to you in terms of the objective nature. Go and ask them. Find someone. You should be able to find someone, right? There are lots of non-Muslims who study Arabic language and study Islam. There are many Orientalists. Okay, I know a few, but of course they're not imitated. So it's the onus is on you to go and find someone. And I'm going to still ask you, if you can't find anyone, it's not that they're afraid of their life, but because if they produce something, we heard this kind of responses. They're so afraid of their life that Muslims will hurt them, whatever. Okay, you don't have to write in your own name. You can publish it in a pseudonym, for example, but you can still say, look, I am a scholar of Arabic language and so on, and this is it. There's various ways of publishing these works in the internet. Okay, why aren't they there? Why are the internet so empty of academic imitation? It tells you volumes, John. I mean, that should really make you think. But you have to use your own critical thinking on this one. I mean, critical thinking is something that people need to develop within themselves. You can't really be born with it, but you need to develop that skill. So ask yourself, why is it no one is able to, in a way where people can easily bring an imitation of it, and yet whole of the world academics, non-Muslims, are silent on this issue to bring a chapter like into it? That itself should be something to ponder deeply.
You have Orientalists such as Dr. Arthur J. Arbery and Dr. Edward Said.
And what did Arbery say about this book? Is it imitable?
No, he says when it comes to the Arabic literature, the Quran's eloquence and rhetorical style are unmatched.
All right, I think John got the idea. John, I think it'll be best if you do, because the thing is, it's all about research. If you're going to question something, then you need to be committed to the research. You can't just expect people to spoon feed you, even though Mansur, mashallah, has elaborated quite eloquently with regards to the actual challenge of the Quran. This is a test from the Quran, and this test has stood for 1400 years. Some of the best orators and poets and people who were well educated in terms of the Arabic language used to be in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And they all failed the test. So how do you expect someone from within our generation to come up with this and try to meet the challenge of the Quran?
Hashim, and the challenge is standing until the day of judgment.
Yes.
The challenge didn't stop. It's still standing until the day of judgment. Bring it on.
Okay, John. So think about it. I think you got a lot to ponder upon.
Before I go, I just want to tell you that the thing is that even if I find a work of academic that say it cannot be imitable, it won't be enough. And even if there is an academic that say it can be imitated, it's not enough. All I'm saying is that I need a consensus about it. Just like I said with the Christian,
it's a challenge.
There is no consensus within Christianity, by the way. There is no consensus about crucifixion, right? We just discussed this earlier on. Even earlier times, Christians were disunited and they're very much diverged in the understanding of whether Christ was crucified or not. Even today, the reason why many of the historians who are academics and so on, they go by what we call the methodological naturalism, because they don't believe in miracles. So if there was an attempt to crucify someone, they would believe that yes, that's possible. It's very much plausible. And if someone is on the cross, it's more plausible that they die, because there's no divine intervention in here, because there is no divine in their methodology, in their methodological approach. So they expect someone to die. But even if someone were on the cross and God were to leave them alive, that will be a miracle. But these historians do not believe in kind of the, so much plausibility of these miracles. For them, it's like the least that can happen, okay? The least probable. So there is no such consensus in this, and the Quran actually questions this consensus and says, okay, this is a conjecture. It's a mistaken perception a lot of people had before, and the Quran came to clarify that conjecture and says, no, the reality is he wasn't crucified. So if you're asking for consensus of something like this, how can you get consensus when people are not going to come out openly? Because some of them really don't want to lose their whole of their academic portfolio, because now they're going to go into polemics and so on. That's why academics try to stay away from this kind of discussions, because it's more polemical nature, and they want to just remain on pure academics. You won't be able to find them, even though they're available. They're available in Twitter, they're available in on their YouTube channels and so on, but they don't engage. So it's not our problem that the academics are not engaging. The responsibility or the onus on you, John, if you really want to know what the reality is it imitable or is it not, you need to go and find out. If you find someone says it's imitable, then let them do it. But if you find that no one is doing it, and rather most people saying you cannot do it, then you need to think twice using your critical thinking. Why is that so? Why is that so? I know it's very difficult to believe, because you're an outsider. As a Muslims, we take it quite easily, but as an outsider, how can a book not be imitable? But that's the reality. God, the creator of our universe, is making what we call a hujjah, an evidence against us, so that we have no excuse in the hereafter. Because the evidence is there for the truth of the religion of Islam, of the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Quran being the divine book, so that people don't have any excuse in saying, I didn't know, I couldn't believe in it. It's there, clearly laid down with proven evidence. So the excuse is removed by this evidence Quran provides. But ultimately, the evidence needs to be grasped and understood. It's not just simply, thrown away like I don't want to know about it, because the same people will question, why did you not look deeply? The Quran says clearly, have they not considered the Quran with deep pondering and care? أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Have they not considered the Quran with tadabbur, with deep reflection? So it doesn't demand, Quran never demands people's superficial reading and so on. Quran wants people to go deep into it, asks, question, and critique it, and then you'll realize that this book comes out quite clearly like this is a divine revelation. That's the reality. So John, there's a lot of homework for you to do, my friend, but I do appreciate your inquisitive mind and questioning. You're on the right track, because if you go along this and then you find where the evidence lies, be ready to accept it wherever the evidence is. Have love for the truth and be sincere, and you will definitely have the truth, because God guides those who are sincere.
Okay, and one last question. Just say yes or no. If I come the next time and let's say I'm not still convinced by this argument, will you discuss with me with another one?
Yeah, no problem. We can discuss other arguments. No worries.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So before you go, John,
Yeah.
what is it you're looking for when you say, let's say you're an atheist now, and if I were to ask you if there is God or no God, that's besides the question. Maybe the term God for many atheists is like a burden, like it's something, as soon as the term comes, it's like a plague for you. You want to get away from it. But if I were to ask you, where did everything come from? Where did the universe come from? What would be your answer to that question?
It will be that I don't know.
That's not an answer.
It is.
But
It's
he's
just you're
honest.
saying you don't know. It's not an answer.
He's honest.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's dishonest, but I'm saying that's not an answer. It's an appeal to ignorance.
I can explain to you my position right now. I'm an atheist because I don't know. So I'm agnostic, and that's why I'm an atheist. So on the knowledge, I don't know. And since I don't know, I don't have a reason to believe. That's all.
Using just your rationality or intellect, was there something before the universe, or wasn't there anything before the universe? What is plausible? I'm not asking you to, write it on in stone. What is the most plausible answer to that?
This is just about conjectures. This is just a speculation I can make now.
People can use inference to come to conclusions. This is a scientific method. So if I were to ask you, did the universe create itself? What would you say? Yes or no?
I cannot say yes or cannot. I never really dive deep inside this. I always focus on the fact that the knowledge we have today, as the humanity in general has today, is that we know how the universe become how it is now. So the Big Bang has been explained, but the beginning of it has something outside of it that caused its existence. It's unknown. So I always rely on the fact of the knowledge humanity has today. I never really speculate about it.
Based on the Big Bang model, it had a beginning, right? Do you accept that the universe had a beginning?
Not that the universe at the beginning, but the expansion started. There was an expansion that started.
So which scientist says the universe always existed?
I'm not saying the universe always existed.
Well, they are saying it began at some point. Even if it's expansion, the Planck time from the singularity to the Planck time is only a fraction of a second. And then the expansion starts. No one says the singularity is eternal. No scientist posits that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
So
I'm just saying that
all of them, all the cosmologists, they know that it began at some point in the past. They don't say it always existed.
I don't think so.
And even if it did always exist,
they don't say that there is a beginning and that there is as a cause. They don't say that.
Yeah, they do actually. If you look at some of the major cosmologists who hold on to the Big Bang model, they all say that, in fact.
So you're saying if I look it up, I will find that most of them at least says that the universe.
None of them says it's eternal. Most of them.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that when they say that it has a beginning. It doesn't mean that.
My friend, if it's not eternal, it must have a beginning, right?
Not really. What I'm saying.
Do you know anything eternal?
Sorry,
do you know anything that is eternal which has a beginning?
I don't know.
Exactly. The term eternal itself implies it has no beginning.
Yeah, but the fact that they claim that they don't say that there is that it's eternal, that it has that it doesn't have a beginning.
Okay.
They don't say that.
Can you name any cosmologists that you have studied
They are not saying that to imply something else.
Listen.
Just saying that they don't know.
John, can you name a single cosmologist that you have actually looked into who posits anything about the Big Bang model? Can you name one single cosmologist?
No, I don't rely on just
So
individuals. I don't rely on individuals.
You know, you haven't done research in this, and the way you're coming across is as if you're an expert in the field.
No, I'm not. As I said,
How
it's
can you then say that?
All the things I say is based on the knowledge they present as in the majority of them present the consensus. You can say that.
No, I'm not talking about the consensus. I'm telling the ones who actually posit the Big Bang model. Okay, like if you look at Alexander, what's his name, Alexander Vilenkin, and look at his evidences he posits. He says because of entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, it's impossible for anything that you call the universe to be eternal, because it'll eventually run out of usable energy at some point. You know what is entropy, right?
No.
Okay, so you see, these are the basic things you need to understand before you can even hypothesize that the universe is eternal.
I'm not saying that.
Okay, so it had a beginning. Do we agree now?
No. If it's,
I'll tell you what. Why didn't you research it before you say yes or no? Okay, like the way you said earlier, I think I preferred that when you said I don't know. But now you're saying when I ask you,
I'm always saying I don't know when I don't know.
Okay, once again, can the universe be eternal?
I don't know.
That's a better answer. So go and read up some scientists like Alexander Vilenkin, and you will come to the conclusion that these, cosmologists who have spent their entire life, who teach in major universities and who have got degrees in this field, they're experts in this field. They are telling you that there's no such thing which is material like the universe, which can be eternal because of the laws of thermodynamics.
Did we ask him already what he would accept as a proof?
That's what I wanted to ask.
What would you accept, John? What do you
John,
want, man?
Proof of what? Of Islam, or that there is a God?
Of God's existence.
We got to start with the existence of God, dude.
Oh, that is presented a knowledge, something objective that cannot be denied, and the thing that you will present.
The universe is your answer. It exists. It cannot be denied. And what caused the universe? If you go to the possession of the universe, you'll come to the conclusion that it cannot have created itself because it didn't exist at one point. So it must have a cause. Secondly, it cannot come from nothing because nothing cannot bring about something, especially as complex like the universe. So what is the only other plausibility? Using common sense and rationality, that you'll come to the conclusion that there must be something outside the universe which is necessary, which caused all of this existence.
Yeah, but the first point is not accepted today. It's not a knowledge today.
Many scientists.
John, when you say knowledge,
do you believe in God like Newton?
What comes to your mind when you say knowledge? How do you acquire knowledge?
When I say knowledge, I'm always saying this based on the how can I say it?
What, like something like a discovery?
Also, the point you use to prove that there must be a God. So if you use something in science, I will say that I don't know if it's a knowledge in science. So for example, when you say that it has a beginning, it's eternal, etc., 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 if it's not admitted, established in science, I will say that I don't know because in science it's not admitted.
So you accept science as your evidence?
I accept the consensus in science as evidence.
What do you mean consensus?
The consensus of science is your evidence.
Okay. So let me ask you something, John. Is testimony a form of science? Is there science in testimony, like testimonial evidence?
Testimony, yeah.
Okay. Is there science in
I think it's used, but it's not enough. It's used, but it's not enough. Testimony themselves is not enough. Nobody will just say that testimony is just enough.
So tell me this right now. Do you drive?
No, I don't have a license.
Do you mind me asking how old you are, bud?
21.
Okay, cool. So you take a form of public transportation, right?
Yeah,
Okay, like a bus or something?
mostly the subway.
Okay, the subway, great. So there's an operator to the train in the subway, right?
An operator, what do you mean?
Somebody
driver.
operates the train.
The train driver.
Or even if it's automatic. Is the train automatic?
It's automatic. It's automatic.
Okay, great. So there's somebody that programmed that train to go and do the things that it needs to do, right?
Yeah.
Did you actually look at the program code before you jumped on the train, or did you just trust that it was going to work based on the testimony of the quality control check of whoever that programmer was?
You asked that if I trust that the train gonna work or not.
Yeah. Did you just blindly trust it? Meaning you, like, let's say, for example, the train, the program is announcing the train is about to arrive in 5 minutes, right? So there's a testimony that the train is going to arrive in 5 minutes. And now, did you actually check the code to see that that program actually is true and that the train is going to arrive in 5 minutes? Or are you just trusting the testimony that it's going to arrive in 5 minutes?
No, I trust the test that has been made and the reason and the test that has been made and that guide the authority of the city, the mayor, to decide that it can be used in the city.
Great. Okay, so now you've shown that you can trust a testimony as a form of evidence, right? So
yeah, but it's not just a testimony. There is a knowledge, a test. The test shows that it works. So it's a knowledge. It's also a knowledge.
No.
It shows that it works. The test made that.
What Muris is telling you is that it's purely based on testimony. So before you saw the result of that announcement that the train actually came after 5 minutes, you already trusted the announcement, did you not?
I don't really understand what you say. Can you say it again?
Okay, you know, this might be a complex example, Maurice. I'll give you a much simpler, which is closer to home for you. So, have you done a DNA test for any of your parents?
Hamza did this on him. This is the issue. He got lost in this argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I came back the next day to clarify. So, Hamza told me that I can summarize it. So, Hamza told me that, do you know that my father is my biological father? So,
yeah. I mean, the question is, have you done, before you even answered it, have you done a DNA test on either of your parents?
No.
You haven't. So you trust their testimony that you are their son?
Yeah, I believe that I am my father's son.
Yeah, based on testimony, right? No other objective.
Yeah, there is nothing objective.
So you do believe just on testimony then? That's
yes, this is my belief. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay, there you go. That's the reason why we're kind of putting you in the hot seat on this, is because if you say definitively, I can only trust science, then you have to have that standard applied towards your life and everything. So, like, let's say, for example, if somebody says, the only way that I'm going to trust to get on a bus is if I mechanically have examined that bus and I have tested that driver out and I have seen all the possible conditions for me to get from one destination to another, and then you're going to sound like a crazy person. Rather, you just, by the fact that there is a city mandated bus driver, you trust that this person has gone through the proper licensing.
No, this example isn't good, because to a driver to drive a bus, there are formation to be done, and I can trust that the formation is good.
Yeah,
I understand. Okay, so let me run this scenario by you. A driver gets on the bus with a fake license, and he drives the bus perfectly and gets to the point, but he's not licensed. He went through no examinations whatsoever. What you're assuming is nobody can drive a car unless they've gone through the proper licensing. And rather, it's the opposite. People can get into a car, they can drive it, they might not be able to drive it well, and through the course of time, they can develop a learned skill, and it's not just some piece of paper that gives them the ability to drive.
Yeah. Same thing with some doctors.
Right.
All you need is enough practice.
Yeah.
You know, and these quacks can become better doctors sometimes because of their experience.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
John, what
anyway,
we're
I
trying
think we have spent a long time with John. There are a
enough
lot of
time,
people
but
waiting in the
you need to really, like, it's not
Yeah.
that deep, bud. You need to just kind of keep things basic for yourself and not be standing on the fence on certain things. And don't be this like hyper skeptic guy who's just like, oh, I need to have everything, blah, blah, blah. No,
Yeah, and I need to clarify something about this. I believe in many things. I believe in things that has knowledge, and I also have irrational beliefs. I have one. Like many people have one. It's just that when it comes to God, I want to stay logical and rational. That's why I insist on the knowledge. If you ask me if I believe in aliens, I will say yes. This is irrational. I accept that my belief in aliens is irrational. I accept it.
You believe in aliens?
Why?
I accept it because we know that in the universe that there are conditions that make life possible, but the knowledge that alien exist, there is no knowledge.
Okay,
So
but
my belief stay irrational.
You open up a can of worms, dude, because now you just went against everything you said. So you said
no, because I told you that I accept that I can be irrational. I accept that. And
Okay.
this is the response I gave to Hamza the next day that I came to his stream.
Not science fiction.
Yeah, exactly. Now the issue is now that, because remember, I always said you open up this can of worms because you said what you accept as evidence. So you're telling me that you're an irrational person. If you're an irrational,
I'm telling you that I can. Like all of us.
I don't think you don't want to.
Yeah, I genuinely think I think you have chosen to believe in aliens because now you might say something like it's more plausible for me to believe in aliens than it is to believe in God.
Yeah, something like this.
Okay,
Something like that. The beliefs stay irrational. The beliefs stay irrational.
John,
Right.
do you believe in demons?
No, I don't.
Why not? If you can believe in aliens, why not demons?
Because most of the time, demons are because mostly the idea of demons have been linked to religions, and if I don't
and
really
aliens
believe
are linked to science fiction.
as I say, there is the fact that
John, I think we are done with that. You know,
I
honestly,
say that
thought you were a rational person.
we know the conditions for life on
you don't know the conditions for alien life. You know the conditions for human life. So don't do that, man. You're saying
if we know the condition of human life, those humans on another planet in the universe will be called aliens.
Yeah, but you don't have any evidence for that other than your.
Let me give him this. So
in French we say extraterrestre. In French we say extraterrestre. The aren't Terrians. The aren't from our.
I'll give you this one. On your ID card, it says resident alien. Okay, so all of us technically are like resident aliens. So I'll give you a little credence right there. However, I will tell you this. The very fact.
I think what the fuck.
The very seriously on the US ID card it says that you're a resident alien, right? Okay, so on the very fact that you yourself are here, okay, points to a creator. There's no way that you can tell me it's irrational to believe that something as complex as a human being just magically spawned out of thin air. And it took billions and billions of years. It's more irrational because you're looking at it on the scale of plausibility and possibility. So look at it on a spectrum. What is more possible? Is it more possible or is it more plausible that human beings were created by a designer, an almighty creator, or that we just magically evolved from space dust that we don't even know where that space dust came from? You have a presupposition when you go down the space dust route. Because then I'm going to ask you, where did the space dust come from? You understand what I'm saying? So I think you need to keep things like super, super basic for yourself, bud. And, just be kind of real and understand. I recommend that you pick up a copy of the Quran because the argumentation is in there. It's in there for you, and see if you can beat the arguments. And I guarantee you won't. And if you're a sincere person, you'll submit.
All right, John, I think we spent quite a lot of time with you. Got a lot to digest. So until next time, you take care, yeah?
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
See you, John.
Take care.